Daniel chapter 7 is perhaps one of the most famous prophetic passages in history. Many theologians have looked at it and have seen these four beasts that rise up out of the sea and are convinced that they represent the four great world empires of history. In fact, we have established many years ago our take on Daniel chapter 7. However, after looking at it again, we would like to suggest the possibility of an alternative opinion. And we're not here to say that you have to believe what we have come up with on this, but we would like for it at least to allow you the opportunity of hearing our case and consider who is the lion of Daniel chapter 7. Gary Stearman is here to discuss with me the lion, the bear, the leopard, and the fourth beast, dreadful and terrible.
Thanks, J.R. Well, we often discuss prophetic ideas, as you might imagine, around here. We have some interesting conversations, and when we do, we review Scripture that we know, that we've studied in depth, but we come back and take a new and different look at it. And so it is with Daniel chapter 7. I was telling J.R. that perhaps 15 years ago, I read Daniel chapter 7, thought I understood it, put it away as meaning one thing, but J.R., in the light of recent events, and looking at this as an end-time prophecy, we're taking a new look at Daniel chapter 7.
And you know, when I came into your office and I said, Gary, let's consider these animals here, and in Daniel chapter 7, we began to go through them. You said, deja vu.
That's right.
I've been here before, you know.
15 years ago.
But by the time we had finished this study, we had, it was like lights came on. And
that's right.
So, first of all, let's tell you what theologians, the traditional view of these four beasts are. First of all, the four beasts. In the first year of Belshazzar, Daniel dreamed of four beasts that rise up out of the sea. The first was like a lion that had eagle's wings, and he beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. Then he saw this second beast, like a bear, raised up itself on one side, had three ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. Then he saw a fourth beast, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it four wings, and had four heads, and dominion was given to it. And then he saw the fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, strong, exceeding, had great iron teeth, it devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. It was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Now these basically, according to traditional theology, represent the great world empires.
That's right, four great world empires. And of course, Daniel says that's what they are. But expositors such as C.I. Schofield and others, going back into the last century, have suggested that these empires are clearly identifiable as Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and finally Rome.
Yeah.
Now, this is fine, and as a matter of fact, I don't disagree with that. We've talked about this, and I think that's wonderful, because Babylon, the lion with eagle's wings, understandable.
But there's one fly in the ointment of the apothecary. One little sticky verse that creates a problem.
Well, maybe two verses, but you're referring to verse 17?
Verse 17.
Verse 17, as this exposition develops, we are told without any question at all the time of the prophecy. Daniel 7:17, these great beasts which are four kings, or four kingdoms is what it really says, which shall arise out of the earth. And the fine print that we were talking about a moment ago are the two words, shall arise. Now, at the time that Daniel received this prophetic word from the Lord via a dream, Babylon was already almost in total decline. This is during the reign of Belshazzar. Babylon was about to disappear. Therefore, it was not one of the beasts which shall arise. In fact, it was about to be one which shall be destroyed. Therefore, we know that the timing of the prophecy is latter day, both for this reason and for other reasons which we'll show you in just a moment.
So if it cannot be the four great world empires of history, then there must be a particular reason why Daniel was given this vision. And we are told in verse 9 that he beheld till the thrones were cast down and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was as white as snow, hair of his head like pure wool, his throne like a fiery flame, and the wheels, his wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him. 10,000s times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set and the books were opened. This is Revelation chapter 5, the very same event. We're talking about the beginning of the tribulation period, when he sets the judgment and opens the books.
The judgment, according in verse 10, it says the judgment was set. In other words, the judgment was not completed.
Yeah.
It was just set. That is, we're seeing the very beginning of the establishment of God's judgment.
And then he goes on in verse 13 to say, I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven. Gary, that's the second coming in Revelation 19.
Sure.
So with these events described for us in detail in the book of Revelation, as are given here in chapter 7, then we know that these four beasts have to be end-time kingdoms.
End-time kingdoms, and so we have a lion, a bear, a leopard, and a strange composite beast. We have the timing being the book of Revelation, basically, going into the tribulation and the second coming of Christ. And furthermore, Daniel says, I beheld. In verse 12, he says, as concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. Now, this is fascinating because that means that the lion, the bear, and the leopard were allowed to go on existing even after the fourth beast is destroyed.
Right.
So we're talking latter day here, J.R.
Has to be, or they wouldn't be go on existing, right?
That's right.
Now, let me give you my take on it over the years. Traditionally, my view has been in the latter days that the lion represented Great Britain, and the eagle's wings represented the United States, plucked from the back of the lion. And my take on it was that the wings were given a man's body, face, heart, feet, stood upon its feet as a man. That is, the United States broke away from Great Britain in 1776, you know, in the following 8 years, the Revolutionary War. United States then found gold in them thar hills, you know, and no longer needed Great Britain or the natural resources of Europe, and were able to stand on its own 2 feet. Then, of course, the other two beasts, the bear would be Russia, the leopard would be Germany, and the fourth beast, the New World Order.
And by the way, you were not alone in that belief.
Yes.
Many contemporary expositors held that particular view. But J.R., let's look very, very closely at the first beast. And we're 2 minutes away from a break, and we're going to fill you in on a great idea here. And when we come back, we'll expand upon it.
Let me just tell you that I still believe the bear is Russia.
Right.
Okay? And I still believe the leopard is Germany. I'm convinced of that. And I believe the fourth beast, then dreadful and terrible, is the beast of Revelation 13 that rises out of the sea of humanity and establishes world government. In fact, Daniel here is told that it will it will devour the whole earth.
That's
and
right.
That's no regional government.
No,
that's
not
the
regional.
whole kit and caboodle, isn't it?
The whole earth. But here's what's interesting, and here's where a close reading of Scripture pays off. Chapter 7, verse 2, when Daniel is having his dream at night, he sees 4 winds striving on the earth. The 4th verse says, he sees 4 beasts. The 4th verse says, the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. You stop and think about this. What you have is a lion, and I see it sitting down, because the verse here clearly says that it's lifted up from the earth. It's placed upon its feet in an upright position. It is given the the visage of a man, or the appearance of a man, and a human heart is placed into it, which stands for wisdom or intelligence.
And life.
And life.
It beats. Falloon, 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 falloon.
Yeah. And so we have here then the lion, if you will, morphing or being transformed into a man with a human heart. This is far different from the way we've looked at this.
And we're talking kingdom here. We're talking political entity here.
Exactly.
Given life. We'll be back in just a moment to tell you who we think the lion really is. Don't go away. Daniel saw a lion, and this lion came walking up out of the great sea upon a seashore. And then he saw as wings on this lion were torn away. And then he saw this lion lifted up from the earth and made to stand. That is, he rose off of his hind feet, and he stood upon his back 2 feet and morphed into a human being, and a heart, the pump, the pump, the pump, the pump, was given to it, life. And this was said to be a king or kingdom.
Yes.
Now, in times past,
right,
when I felt that the wings represented the United States, I saw the wings as the ones that were lifted up, and a man's heart was given to it, and the wings were made to stand on its own 2 feet.
Right.
That's not what the Scripture says in the Hebrew. And that's one of the reasons why our eyes here have been opened somewhat, and we've taken another look at this, and we've thought, So, as we share this with you, you follow carefully. Yes, Gary?
As a matter of fact, I'm getting ready to say, it doesn't even say that in the English, because it really, the lion had its wings plucked, and then it was lifted from the earth, made to stand on its feet as a man, and a man's heart put into it, a human heart, which is the symbol of intelligence, wisdom, and life, as you say. Now, at this point, we're talking about latter-day kingdoms, as we have already established.
Yes.
We know that the bear is Russia. We know that the leopard is Germany. There's no doubt about that.
And this bear has 3 ribs in its mouth.
That's right.
3 kosher ribs.
Well, we could say perhaps going after the Jews.
Right. The enemy has been the Jews in this century. That's who Germany tried to destroy, the Jews, and the pogroms in Russia.
That's right.
Both of those nations, the bear and the leopard, have been against the Jews returning to their promised land in this century. So,
yes, indeed.
The lion then must have Jewish overtones.
Could he be?
The lion of the tribe of
Judah.
Aha. Now, before you say those guys are crazy, I want you to consider very carefully what God promised the Jews throughout the prophets. He said, someday I will bring you back again. I will return the captivity of Jacob. And it's kind of interesting, Gary, that he promised to bring them home on wings of eagles.
He did indeed. As a matter of fact, we have in talking about the Mosaic covenant, when the Lord spoke to Moses, he said, you've seen what I did to the Egyptians, Exodus 19:4, and how I bare you on eagle's wings and brought you unto myself. The Lord speaks of himself as being the wing of the eagle's wings, and I think it's very, very obvious here that the eagle's wings are the Lord's work. The lion could very well be the lion of the tribe of Judah, set in his own land. And J.R., I know you're dying to say something, but I want to say this. In Ezekiel 37, where we have the vision of the dry bones, which have sinew and flesh put upon them, and at last the life begins to come into them. And we read in Ezekiel 37:10, so I prophesied as he commanded me, and breath came into them, that is, into those bones, and they lived and stood up on their feet, an exceeding great army. And that's the same figure as we have with the lion. It's lifted up, it stood on its feet, and it given a heart.
Given life.
Given life.
Yeah. In Deuteronomy 32:11, in the Song of Moses, God says, as an eagle stirreth up her nest, fluttereth over her young, spreadeth abroad her wings, taketh them, beareth them on her wings. So the Lord alone did lead him, speaking of Israel. And there was no strange God with him. Made him ride on the high places of the earth. And so we have this symbolism used all the way through. Now there are two great symbols that are listed here. There is the lion, and then there is the eagle. And it's kind of interesting to me that the lion represents Judah, but the eagle in times past represented Dan, the tribe of Dan.
That's right.
And you recall when Moses had the tabernacle built, he had two men to do the design work and to be foreman over the job. One was a Danite, the other was of the tribe of Judah. And so we have Aholiab of the tribe of Judah, or Dan, and Bezaleel of the tribe of Judah. And we have seen this contention between Judah and Dan down through the centuries. In my opinion, Dan will produce the Antichrist. Judah produced the Messiah himself. And so we've got this conflict. But in the end time, it would be Dan who would see to it that the Lion of Judah was brought back home to the Promised Land. Why? So that Dan could produce their leader.
Now, as J.R. and I were talking this over, we went through a little exercise, and we'll go through it right now. And I'm going to ask J.R. some questions. He didn't know I'm going to do this, but I'm going to ask him some questions right here in front of everybody. J.R., why was World War I fought?
World War I was fought?
Yeah.
World War I was fought so that the land could be prepared for the chosen people. The promised land could be prepared for the chosen people.
That is correct. You get an A+. I really had him going there for a minute. All right, next question. Why was World War II fought?
To prepare the people for the land.
In other words, it can be said that the two great world wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, as in the words of Jesus, were fought for the sake of bringing Israel back as a nation. That is, making that lion stand up and have that heart put into him as a man.
That's right. And the heart came on May 14th, 1948, when life was breathed into that political entity, and voila, we've got a new nation birthed, the nation of Israel. The Jews are back home again.
Now I have a third question. Other than Israel, who were the most important parties in World Wars I and II?
Let's see.
He's scratching his head.
I would have to say it'd be Germany and Russia.
Germany and Russia. You mean the leopard and the bear?
The leopard and the bear, absolutely.
And so, J.R., what we may be seeing here in Daniel 7 is nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. The three most important parties biblically are Russia, Germany, and Israel.
Yes. Until we get down to that fourth beast.
Yes.
And that fourth beast represents a world empire. And Gary, I'm convinced that this fourth beast here is being developed at the United Nations, a new world order. And these 10 horns represent 10 political, economic regions of planet Earth, not just 10 nations. They are not 10 European nations, as has been thought. But as time develops, you know, our eye, we can see clearer. And it was the Club of Rome that suggested back in 1973, 74, that the world be divided up into 10 kingdoms.
That's right.
It used the term kingdoms and later was called political economic regions.
Yeah, these would be regional authorities, and let's face it, we're not talking democracy here anymore. In the days of the fourth beast, democracy is gone. It's dictatorship.
And do you realize that America has turned over a lot of our sovereignty to the United Nations already?
Now in verse 23 of Daniel 7, thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it into pieces. J.R., that's the whole earth. That's not just the United States or just Europe.
That's right. It's not just the revived Roman Empire. It's the whole world. And I think this, of course, is the outgrowth of the Holy Roman Empire. If you'll look at Germany, for example, Germany was the leader of the Holy Roman Empire. The Habsburg dynasty were German emperors.
That's right.
And that was considered to be the First Reich. Then under Bismarck, Otto von Bismarck in the last part, when he unified Germany in the late 1800s,
that's right.
That was the Second Reich. When Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party came along, they called their regime the Third Reich. But you know, Gary, this beast has 4 heads, so there's going to have to be a Fourth Reich. And evidently that's, you know, the Bundesbank and the big German bankers are the ones who are actually heading up this establishment of the euro dollar?
Yeah, the euro dollar and Euroland in general. As a matter of fact, the driving force is Germany, still to this very day. We're talking about the 4th head. Now, the leopard has 4 wings and 4 heads, and it perfectly fits what we see about Germany today.
Yeah, and the leopard has historically been the symbol of Germany. You can look at the German tanks of World Wars I and II, the Panzers, and today that tank is called the Leopard.
That's right.
And it's obviously Germany to me.
Blitzkrieg is what it was, lightning war, not like a leopard. And so, J.R., we have Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome in their first typification. Then we have, in the latter day, these symbols become Israel, Germany, Russia, and finally the world empire.
Wow. We'll be back in just a moment.